Sorry about that.
I know, it's,
It's abnormally big on this agenda. From my phone with my finger.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I guess I got translated via digital.
like this big. He rings the door.
The batteries go dead on it all, so it's not a priority.
Yeah.
They weren't for something or something.
Well, there.
That's an impressive level of
My
honesty
wife
there.
wouldn't say that. My wife would be like, no, you cannot have a cupcake.
You know, I just. Five cupcakes.
Oh, she
I
wouldn't
mean,
worry about it. She would
She would
just
just
kill
tell
you.
you.
Yeah, there would be no
No, I
worry.
don't.
There'd be no worry.
Yeah.
Right. Say, touch these and die.
Yeah.
Sore makes more.
We can tell you used to be a teacher.
Yeah.
But see, like the touch these and die would almost be, it would be like a challenge. Can I do this and not get killed?
Well, see, then you
Or
would,
not get caught.
but then you would be Alice and wonder, did that really happen? You know?
That's, well, yes and no. I signed it electronically. Yes, it looks like I had it. All right, I've got 4 o'clock, so we will go ahead and call the meeting to order. If everyone would stand for the moment of silence and the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Recorder, if you'd call the roll.
Floyd,
Present.
Vice Chair Harrison, Deborah Thomas,
Present.
Jeremy Burnett, Michelle Childs, Superintendent Worrell.
We do have a quorum. Mr. Superintendent, would you lead us through our agenda?
I would lead you through this special called meeting agenda. So the items that are on the agenda are the ones that we will discuss tonight. The first item is the consent agenda that has 3 items: the approval of the business meeting minutes from March 7th, the approval of the 23-24 instructional calendar, and the approval of the spring 2022 discard list.
Is there a motion to get this item on the floor?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any items anyone would like to remove from the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Next item.
Next item, moving to the discussion items. The first item is recognition of Renaissance Group Architects.
Is there a motion to get this item on the floor?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Dr. Horrell.
The board requested, and I certainly endorse, inviting some representatives from Renaissance Group Architects to be with us today. For those that did not observe the previous meeting, Renaissance Group donated their time and their expertise to help design the renovation, or to design the renovation for the home that we bought on Old Brownsville Road that our intention is to convert into a central office space for those that are housed here at City Hall. Beyond that, Renaissance Group, and we've got with us Mike Terry and Doug Burris, and I'm going to go ahead and put them on the stream here. So you guys are on camera right now. Doug Burris have been with us essentially from the very start of Lakeland school system. Renaissance Group is a Lakeland firm. They were one of the first firms that we reached out to when we started discussing options for not only Lakeland Elementary School, but for future buildings. They have been with us through the design and construction of Lakeland Middle Preparatory School, the design and construction of the addition of Lakeland Elementary School that is barely big enough to hold the kids and the teachers we have now with all the growth that we've seen, and obviously have been and are in the throes of the design and construction of the high school addition at Lakeland Preparatory School. They are vendors of ours in terms of their service, but they've also been true partners over the course of the last 8.5 years, and they want the schools to be the way that we want the schools to be, and they put a lot of time and craft and attention into making sure that we as the customers are happy. And I will admit we're not happy 100% of the time, but one of the great things about Renaissance Group is that they respond well to concerns or issues or challenges, or as Dr. Mitchell likes to call them, opportunities as they come up, and again, always go above and beyond. So I know that the board, it was important to the board to have you guys here, just to make sure that we could thank you personally for not just the donation of the service, which is greatly appreciated on the house, but just your continued partnership.
And well, I will echo what Dr. Horrell said. We're fortunate to have Renaissance as partners. They've been a great partner from us literally from the beginning of the school system, and it's a Lakeland business, and we certainly appreciate you, and we thank you for everything you've done for our school and school system. Thank you so much.
Don't worry.
I want to
Me too. Me too.
I'll say this, we're, us that own the company, a lot of personal feelings. Part of it. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I was gonna say, there's a lot of things that worry us, but I'm never worried about this part of things, the planning and the action on the planning, and I just appreciate the forethought and the collaboration. It's made our school system what it is today, and it's gonna carry us into the future, so thank you so much.
And I'm so excited for the school to open. We so appreciate the donation that you gave us, and I hope it comes full circle where eventually we'll have graduates that return to work for you, inspired by the products that you have produced for our community.
I can't wait.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank
But
you.
Thank you all very much. and
Thank
please-
you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Dr. Horrell, next item.
Next item is the superintendent's report. I gave a very thorough report at the work session last week. We do have new to this meeting the February and March 2022 financial summaries. I don't have anything to highlight from those summaries, but they are there if you have any questions. Me or Ms. Rosales?
Any questions on the superintendent's report of Ms. Harrison?
I just have one thing. I want to I think it ties in the financial report, and I meant to touch on it last time. I just wanted to, it goes along with the lunch program, and plus like the plans or what you're hearing about the plans for next school year for the lunch program and kind of how that's going to look as in terms of budgeting, expenses, all of that kind of thing.
Yes, your timing is very good. We had a really thorough discussion about that at our business operations meeting just this afternoon. If you're not familiar, Ms. Rosales is, in addition to being our finance director, is also our nutrition supervisor, among the many things that she does. And she recently went through a very successful nutrition review with the state, our state coordinator or supervisor, I suppose. And it does appear to be clear that the open feed program that we're under right now, the community feeding program, where all the students were eating for free for the past couple of years, won't be continued next year. So we will have to go back to giving parents the opportunity to apply for free and reduced lunches, and then most meals will be just available at a set rate. So that will change our situation pretty dramatically. Now, Ms. Rosales did note, and if you had the opportunity to check it out, you may have noticed that we came out in the black pretty significantly, to the tune of a couple of $100,000 in the black, which is not the usual situation. And the federal government and the state that helps oversee that money, actually will make sure that we spend down that fund balance. It's not something that you're allowed just to bank. So that money would be able to be put back towards the cafeteria in terms of usually equipment. There may be some large equipment that we need or staffing as necessary. So what we discussed today is that this next year, since it's been 2 years since we've really had kind of a normal year, as we all know, the same applies to the cafeteria situation. We'll really spend some time evaluating and just see what is the participation in the lunch program once we go back to paid lunches. We're sure it will be lower, but it's a question of how much, and then we'll be able to make decisions from there as far as things like meal costs, are we charging the appropriate amount for lunches? But right now, the plan is to hold steady and evaluate over the course of the next year, which we can do in a good situation because we do have that surplus right now of funds.
Madam Recorder, if you'd let the record reflect Mr. Burnett is present. Other questions for the superintendent?
Just a little bit more on the food service. So like I see the balance or whatever, so that can be spent, in terms of the budget, that can be spent on staffing, that can be spent on food itself, that can be spent on equipment, anything related, warming carts, it can be spent virtually on anything related to food service. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. We have opportunities to spend the balance down or spend it as we need to, or
Yes.
as we're being dictated to?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions for the superintendent? Dr. Horrell?
Would like to add one under my report. I'd like to, if I can, allow Ms. Childs to give some updates as the TLN representative.
Absolutely.
Okay, I will make this short, but first I'll mention that the HB 2143, SB 2396, known as Tsba, which replaces the BEP, it is still live. It's been rolled till next week in the Senate Finance. When we talked about last week, HB 1944, SB 1944, Topeka and Hensley about obscenity, that was deferred to summer study, so it will not pass this year. I'll also mention SB 2498, HB 2429 that we talked about last week. That is still live, and that's regarding CTE requirements, which includes the practitioner being able to teach it without getting a teaching license. So far, so good. That one's still live, so we are very hopeful that that will pass this year. And finally, I do want to mention that while the obscenity one did not pass, the Age Appropriate Materials Act of 2022 did pass. This is SB 2407, HB 2154 by Johnston and Lamberth. And that will require all library materials must be posted on the school website. The school board must adopt a policy for reviewing school library collections that must be age appropriate. There has to be a process for school boards to receive feedback about a book that could be problematic, that gets flagged by a student, a staff, a parent, or guardian, and there has to be a process for a periodic review.
I will note that we are aware of that legislation and are actually working with some of our sister school systems to see if perhaps there might be some consistency in how we approach that legislation, because it could be a significant lift to implement for the next school year.
Thank you, Dr. Horrell. Next item.
Next item is discussion action on approval of fiscal year 22-23 budget.
Is there a motion to get this item on the floor?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Dr. Horrell?
As we've described before, typically present the budget overview at the work session, and then over the course of the past week, I've had the opportunity and the pleasure to meet with each of the 5 board members to have detailed discussions about any questions, thoughts, concerns, or about the budget itself. I want to thank the board members for your engagement and your preparation, and for consistently, again, over the course of the last 8.5 years, taking that aspect of your boardsmanship so seriously. This board gives input into the creation of the original draft of the budget, which I think sharing those points of emphasis really allows us to, working with Ms. Rosales, our finance director, to put together a budget that I think reflects the priorities of the board. So I want to thank you for that process. And speaking of Ms. Rosales, I also want to thank Jessie Rosales, who is the person that actually puts all these wishes and thoughts and changes and things together in a format that makes sense and is appropriate and correct from an accounting standpoint and a legal standpoint. So thank you so much, Ms. Rosales. She's the best in the business, and we're lucky to have her.
Discussion on the budget. I'll just add that as I know each of you have, I've reviewed the budget, and I think it's a reasonable and appropriate budget as we approach kind of new territories we've done so many times in the school system in the last 9 years. But Again, I'd like to echo my thanks for Ms. Rosales, and I think we're in a good spot as we move forward to open up the high school. Ms. Harrison?
One of the things I know we talked about it in detail at the last meeting. I just want to echo that I appreciate the thoughtfulness and everything that has gone into the budget. I know there were some things that maybe we wanted to do that we couldn't, and we had to set, priorities. And I think going through in detail, I think they were set appropriately. There's things certainly as we move forward and have more students, more opportunities, more responsibility, that will expand those priorities and expand some of the things that we have talked about as a vision. So I appreciate the fact that we put the focus on classrooms, making sure we are starting off our extracurricular programs right. Those are the things that matter to students and families, trying to build these programs from the very beginning, and that's what I feel like this budget places an emphasis on. And then some administrative things that we maybe want to add as we go forward. We certainly are not adding those yet, and so I feel like we've placed a very important emphasis on where the students and families and even the faculty will get the most best experience for our dollars, and then we can expand that as we go forward. So I'm very appreciative of that. I'm also very appreciative that we were also not requesting more money from the city in terms of continuing the maintenance
Operational,
effort.
yeah.
So that we're also able to budget appropriately to pay the city our portion of the, I guess it was $700,000, is that the right amount?
Yep.
For this year. And this would be the third of 4 payments, am I saying that right? Third of 4, or is this?
This is the fourth.
It might be the
Okay.
fourth.
Fourth.
So
This will be the fourth.
We had that discussion about one
The
being.
fourth, we went back, the one that's in the budget now is the fourth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We
So
have
the
paid
next
3.
year.
Right,
So we,
correct.
Okay. So I am appreciative that we were able to do all of those things without asking for more money from the city, other than their continued maintenance of effort that's required by law, which is the minimum, and we haven't asked for any increase in that. So I'm very appreciative of all the thoughtfulness and all the things that have gone into this. And I look forward to also seeing how, because I know we have things that change through the year and maybe opportunities as we go through. Things may, there may be more sales tax revenue or more this or more that. So there's also opportunities out there for these things that we kind of said, okay, that's not as high of a priority. So I'm very excited to see what this year looks like in terms of all the things, enrollment, programs, all of that, and continue to build it. And I thank y'all for your thoughtfulness in making sure that the right things were taken care of in this budget.
Thomas?
And I want to piggyback on what Laura was saying. We always place such a great emphasis on our people, and so I'm really grateful that we've been able to hire people already for the high school, that we began that process and actually began it in January, that we have a lot of excellent people coming in to be the next teachers in the Lakeland school system, and that we took care of our teachers with the step increase and the 2%, which not all school systems, even in the municipalities, not all the school systems do that. So of the school system, the success of the kids, it's right there with the teachers every day, and I'm just thankful that we have, that we're looking out for families by making sure we have the right people in place. So thanks for all your efforts there.
Any other comments on the budget? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Budget passes. Next item.
Next item is discussion action on the 2023 to 27 capital improvement plan.
Is there a motion to get this item on the floor?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Dr. Horrell?
This is essentially an update of our plan that becomes part of the city's comprehensive budget document. It mainly contemplates the addition of Shelby County Schools capital dollars, as well as the leftover funds that will be left over in the next fiscal year from the USDA. It does include the anticipated extension of Campus Drive to US 70.
Discussion on this item? Harrison?
Just to remind the audience, and I know we talked about it last time, but the extension of Campus Drive is a requirement per the traffic study for the building of the high school. And remind us again when when it has to be completed by?
It has to be complete before we have 11th graders. So that would be before the 24-25 school year.
And there's a lead process that has to go in that design, way acquisitions, all of those things, so.
And our goal is to get it done before then and get it done as quickly as possible,
Rising construction costs that don't seem to come down.
particularly.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Do we know yet what money we would get from Shelby County for the building formula about?
No, the way the funding from Shelby County works, the capital funding is in relation to funding of Memphis Shelby County schools. So for every dollar that they give to Memphis Shelby County schools, they have to give a percentage of that to each of the municipal systems based on their percentage of the total number. So for example, our percentage of the total number of students in all of Shelby County is somewhere just north of 2%. So if they get, $100, we get $2.30.
There's not a separate one though okay.
Not typically, it just has to do with how much they're allocated.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item.
Next item is discussion action on FY 22-23 salary schedules.
Is there a motion to get this item on the floor?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Dr. Horrell?
This is a companion piece to the budget document, as the vast majority of the budget is salaries. It does include the 2% adjustment to across the board, and that's to every employee that's covered by the salary schedules. Beyond that, there are not really other major changes to the salary schedules.
Any comments or discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item.
Next item was discussion on the 22-23 stipend schedule, which is mainly coaches, but also some fine arts activities. My request is to skip over that for this month. There were just a few. We want to get this right. There were a few concerns with the opening of the 9th grade that I didn't feel like it was where it needs to be to bring it before the board. So we'd like to bring that back in May.
Any objection to carrying this item over to May? Hearing no objection, we'll carry this over to our May agenda. Next item.
Next item is discussion action on approval of cheerleading coach job description.
Is there a motion to get this item on the floor?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Dr. Horrell?
Per LSS policy, new job descriptions are required to be brought before the board. This is a job description for a cheerleading coach. As it says, this one is a little bit different because this would be a position that would be funded by the school system, but the school system would be acting as a pass-through for the cheerleading booster club. And this would cause the cheerleading coach to be technically an employee of Lakeland school system, which gives the school system some oversight of the employee and those activities that we feel like would be helpful under the circumstances.
Any discussion on this item?
A little bit to this item, just because I've had one of my children. There's been I've had some discussions with some parents about how this, or how this kind of arose. There's several models out there related to how cheerleading is done and competitive cheerleading is done in schools. This model attempts to give ability with it being someone who reports to the principal and that reporting structure, so that the children, so that the parents are getting, I guess, what they feel like they should be getting, or getting the services, I guess, that they should feel like that they should be getting. The competitive cheerleading program is not, it's very complex. There's many different levels. There's many different requirements within those levels for things you can't do, stunts you can do, tumbling you can't do, types of this, types of jumps. It is a very complex scoring system, and by having just one jump wrong, you get deductions and points off. So having I don't want to call it an expert, but having someone that has extensive experience into that, which is how this position not being a faculty position, but actually being more of a professional in this area, allows the money that the parents are paying for this program, which is a very expensive sport. It is a very expensive sport, but it makes sure that they get the expertise to have the right choreography, the right stunting, the right dance, the right music composition, the right amount of, whatever they're supposed to do. By doing it this way and not having, a regular, I guess, let's just say a faculty coach, you're not going to get the level of expertise you need to have that we had like this past year where they at Cheer Nationals, just to remind everybody. So I'm very supportive of the way this is being carried out. Dr. Horrell and I have had several conversations about how this gives accountability for the parents, but also make sure that we have someone to be, to make sure, again, that all of these things that come with the complexity of this program are addressed, and there's some
Ms. Harrison, any other, Mr. Burnett?
Question for you, Dr. Horrell. You mentioned that this is a pass-through from the cheer sponsor to us. Then this is, when you say the, concern, because we're committing to pay this, is there any concern boosters won't be able to? Talking about that plus 15, 20%. Well, there's no benefits, but those ancillary HR costs.
That would actually be lined out in the specific contract with the individuals. Typically, the way the cheer programs work is they're paid based on the number of cheerleaders that they're instructing.
Okay.
And there'll be specific details kind of worked into the agreement with the person. So this would be a different kind of contract than if there are no funds forthcoming from the parents, or there are no, for example, if there are no kids interested in it, then we wouldn't be responsible for paying the person. So there's a not to exceed amount.
add to that, when the parent signs up for this program, they sign a financial commitment to this as well. So yes, the booster may bring some money for this, but the parents also sign a financial commitment to be a part of this program, and in writing do say that they're acknowledged that this is what it is if the fundraising doesn't.
Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item.
Next item's a discussion action on approval of policy 4.604, credit for prior courses. This is the second and final reading.
Is there a motion to get this item on the floor?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item.
Next item's discussion action on FY 21-22 budget amendments.
Is there a motion to get this item on the floor?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Dr. Horrell?
This is what's intended to be the final round of amendments to the current budget year's budget. This includes several items that we typically at this time of year we just shore up anything that needs to be adjusted, so that for the final amendment of this year everything's correct and as it should be. It does include a significant change due to our summer camps, our summer learning camps that are in the second year, and we did get the specific numbers on those funds. And so this includes both the revenues and the expenses for the summer camps.
Question on this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Next item is discussion action on nomination of TSBA Volunteer of the Year.
Is there a motion to get this item on the floor?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Thomas, I see your name. The floor is yours.
Every year, TSBA, which is the Tennessee School Boards Association, calls for nominees for Volunteer of the Year for each district, and there are 9 districts in the state of Tennessee. So a couple years ago, we submitted our first nominee, Stacy Cartwright, and she won for the Delta District, and the winner for each district goes to compete for the state of Tennessee TSBA Volunteer of the Year. So I would like to a nomination on the floor for Thomas Pickering, affectionately known by many as Mr. P, as our volunteer for Lakeland School System's Volunteer of the Year.
It would be appropriate to open the floor up to any other nominations. Is there anyone else? Mr. Burnett?
I would just like to echo Ms. Thomas's recommendation. Mr. Pickering's an excellent candidate and nomination.
Any other thank you for those comments, Mr. Burnett. Any other nominations? Hearing none. Dr. Horrell, how long has Mr. Pickering been volunteering for Lakeland School System?
Mr. Pickering has been volunteering for Lakeland Schools long before there was a Lakeland School System, I know that. He was one of the first people that I met when I came on before the school system was even officially approved in terms of creation by the state and the State Board of Education. He is an individual who has probably, I don't think it's an exaggeration, he has probably personally served every employee at Lakeland Elementary School. I mean, he's somebody that was instrumental in the creation and the start of the Watchdog Dads. He is somebody that has emptied recycling boxes and trash. He has done just about everything that
Cut tennis balls.
Cut
for the
tennis
fun.
balls.
Sharpen pencils.
Great examples. He is truly a servant leader, and I think he's a very, very worthy nominee, and I know we'll do well.
All right, so Ms. Harrison.
So I'll add this so when my oldest, who's now in college, was at Lakeland Elementary, I believe because I saw him there so much. And it was always positive. My daughter always had positive interactions with him. So he has been an asset to Lakeland long before Lakeland ever existed. And so my daughter even has very fond memories of my experience there. So I think it's well worth the nomination, or a very, very worthy candidate, and I definitely support.
And I also think, like you all were saying, Volunteer of the Year, to be somebody who actually interacts with the kids. He's up at the LPS campus every Friday, helping with a concession stand up there, and kids walk by and, hey, Mr. P, and he jokes that he used to wear that vest at LES, that Dayglow yellow.
Watchdog Dag.
Yeah, Watchdog Dag, and he would say that his weapon was a spork, because he walked around with sporks in his pockets, and that that's how he bonded with kids over a spork. So I can't think of many people who've had such an impression, such a positive effect on so many of our kids, even the ones who are in college now. So I think everybody would be tickled with this. It's not a professional word, but I think everyone would be tickled to see us honor Mr. Pickering in this way. And I will get with him and write the application, and we'll get it submitted. Deadline's May 1st.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Thomas. And our school system is very fortunate to have many, many volunteers that certainly are worthy of this award. But I think Mr. Pickering is a well-deserved nominee for spearheading that. Dr. Worrell, next item.
Next and final item of the special call meeting is a review of the policy manuals, the first half of Section 6.
Is there a motion to get this item on the floor?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Burnett, would you like to speak to this item?
Sure. The representatives and I met. Recently we went through this. We have a number of changes. Most of them have to do with some of the policies said reviewed annually in March, so it's changing it to instead. A couple of typographical items we caught, one of which is you keep saying that it keeps on changing school director to superintendent on one policy. One or two substantive changes that Dr. Horrell and I talked about that he's going to and send around to the other board members to review. But just to bring it up for your initial thoughts and consideration is on disciplinary policies where vandalism is mentioned on 2 of the levels of issues. There's no cross-reference, so that policy should cross-reference policy 6.311, which is care of school property. There's nothing that, policy that says we must make sure that if there's hold people accountable for the damage that vandalism, that second policy. So one or two other, I think somewhat minor items, but that Dr. Horrell and staff will work on and we'll bring back.
Good, thank you, Mr. Burnett, for your work on the committee. Any other comments on this item? Hearing none, Dr. Horrell, next item.
No further items.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?